Hey, Cowboys fans, let's talk about a player who was quickly becoming one of the bright spots of the 2024 season, linebacker DeMarvion Overshown. The second-year linebacker was showing flashes of brilliance on the field, earning a lot of respect from both teammates and fans alike. In fact, he was quickly becoming one of the most explosive playmakers on the defense. With 90 tackles, 5 sacks, and an interception that he returned for a touchdown, Overshown was proving to be a key asset for the Dallas Cowboys. His speed, tenacity, and ability to read the game made him a standout in what was already a talented defense. But as we all know too well, things can change in an instant in football. In early December, during a crucial game against the Cincinnati Bengals, Overshown suffered a devastating knee injury. The kind of injury that sends chills down your spine when you hear the details: a torn ACL, MCL, and PCL in his right knee. It was a season-ending injury, and for a moment, the outlook for his future was grim. Not only did it end his promising season, but it also left fans wondering whether we'd be seeing him back on the field for the 2025 season. It's a tough blow for a guy who had so much potential, and to make matters worse, this wasn't the first time he had to battle a major injury. Overshown had already faced a setback last season, tearing his ACL in the preseason. So as you can imagine, this latest injury brought about even more concerns. But here's the twist: recent updates on his recovery are giving us hope. So stick around as we dive into the details of his injury and recovery journey. Quick poll for you. Do you think Overshown will be back on the field for the start of the 2025 season? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's talk about the severity of DeMarvion Overshown's injury and what it meant for both him and the Dallas Cowboys. This wasn't just a simple tweak or a minor injury, it was a major blow to his career and the team's defense. The fact that Overshown tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL all in one go? That's one of the worst-case scenarios for any player. His right knee was essentially torn apart, and as you can imagine, recovery from that type of injury is no walk in the park. At the time of the injury, there were serious concerns about whether he would be ready for the 2025 season. The Cowboys' defense was already struggling with injuries to key players like Trevon Diggs, and now, losing Overshown, a rising star, felt like a massive hit. As fans, we were left wondering how the defense would adjust without one of its most promising linebackers. And it wasn't just the team that was affected. The linebacker group, which had already dealt with injuries, now had to deal with a glaring hole. Overshown wasn't just another player on the roster, he was a leader in the locker room, a guy who had the respect of his teammates. His energy and tenacity were contagious, and losing him meant more than just losing a starter, it meant losing an emotional spark. Let's take a quick step back and remember that this wasn't Overshown's first major injury. In fact, he had already faced a significant setback in 2023, tearing his ACL in the preseason. That was a tough break for the young linebacker, and the fact that he bounced back to have such an impactful 2024 season was inspiring. But now, this new injury raised even bigger questions about his long-term future. Without Overshown on the field, the Cowboys had to adjust. They had to rely on other players to step up, and while there were solid performances, no one could quite fill the void that Overshown left. His absence in the linebacker corps definitely affected the chemistry of the defense, forcing the coaching staff to make changes to fill the gap. What do you think, Cowboys Nation? Do you think the Cowboys' defense was able to overcome Overshown's injury, or do you believe it was a significant setback? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, now, for some good news, there are some positive signs that DeMarvion Overshown's recovery might be ahead of schedule. While the initial outlook was grim, recent updates have us feeling a lot more optimistic about his future with the Dallas Cowboys. According to insider Calvin Watkins, Overshown was spotted at the Star without crutches, an incredible sign considering the severity of his knee injury. Now, you might be wondering, How big of a deal is this? Well, for a player who just tore 3 major ligaments in his knee, being able to walk without crutches so soon is a huge step forward. It's one thing to recover from an ACL tear, but throwing in MCL and PCL tears makes this a much more complicated injury to bounce back from. So seeing Overshown make such visible progress is definitely a cause for celebration. Reports say that he's been putting in the work during his rehab, with a focus on strengthening and rebuilding his knee. The recovery process for these types of injuries involves a combination of physical therapy, rehab, and time. While the road to full recovery is long, being able to walk without crutches this early in the process is a strong indication that he's making solid progress. This could potentially speed up his timeline, allowing him to be back on the field sooner than initially anticipated. So, what does this mean for the Cowboys? Well, it gives us a glimmer of hope that Overshown could be back in action for the 2025 season, and if everything continues on this path, maybe even earlier than expected. With all the talk about his injury, it's refreshing to hear that Overshown is pushing through it and making strides to return to his old form. The Cowboys need him in the lineup, and his recovery could become one of the most important stories of the offseason. Here's a fun one for you. Cowboys fans, how soon do you think we'll see Overshown back on the field? Do you think he'll be ready for Week 1 of 2025, or will he need more time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Now that we know Overshown is making significant strides in his recovery, let's take a step back and think about what his potential return could mean for the Dallas Cowboys, both in terms of roster impact and team expectations for the 2025 season. Before the injury, DeMarvion Overshown was starting to establish himself as one of the most explosive and promising linebackers on the team. He was quickly earning a reputation not just for his playmaking ability, but also for his leadership on and off the field. His energy, work ethic, and presence in the locker room made him a key figure in the Cowboys' defense. And as fans, we were all getting excited about the potential of seeing him as a staple in the linebacking core for years to come. The good news is, assuming his recovery continues at this pace, his return could be a huge boost to the defense in 2025. The Cowboys are going to need him, especially with the ongoing challenges the defense has faced, particularly with the loss of Trevon Diggs earlier in the season. Overshown is exactly the kind of player who can add a new level of intensity and playmaking to the defense, filling the gaps that have been left by the injuries. His speed, vision, and ability to make key tackles will be invaluable. And let's not forget the leadership aspect. Overshown is more than just a talented player, he's a leader in the locker room. His maturity and respect among teammates have already made an impact, and his return could help solidify the Cowboys' defensive unity. The defense, with a full-strength Overshown, could become one of the most well-rounded and competitive units in the league. What does this mean for the Cowboys' expectations in 2025? Well, assuming Overshown is back to his full strength, he could be a major factor in taking this defense to the next level. The linebacker position could become a true strength of the team, and we could see more turnovers, better coverage, and increased pressure on opposing quarterbacks. But what do you think, Cowboys Nation? How crucial do you think Overshown will be to the team in 2025? What role do you see him playing in the defense's overall performance? Let me know your thoughts below. As we wrap up this deep dive into DeMarvion Overshown's injury recovery and what lies ahead, it's clear that the linebacker's future with the Dallas Cowboys holds a lot of promise. While we've been through the ups and downs of his injury history, his relentless work ethic and early signs of recovery give us hope that he will be an integral part of the defense for years to come. Let's quickly recap what we know. Overshown has been a shining star in a season marred by injuries, and his impressive numbers 90 tackles, 5 sacks, and a touchdown interception prove just how valuable he was before the injury. His leadership in the locker room and his growing impact on the field made him a fan favorite. The recent update about him walking without crutches is nothing short of encouraging, showing that his recovery is progressing faster than expected. The thought of him returning to the field in 2025 gives Cowboys fans something to be excited about, especially considering the significant void his absence left. Looking ahead, the Cowboys' defense could get a major boost with his return. Having Overshown back on the field would bring energy, leadership, and a boost to the linebacker corps, which is already stacked with potential but could use that one extra spark to reach a whole new level. If he comes back strong, there's no doubt that his presence could play a key role in the defense's success next season and potentially make a significant impact in the Cowboys' playoff aspirations. Before we go, I want to hear from you, Cowboys fans. What do you think? Do you believe Overshown's recovery will be a game changer for the Cowboys? Or do you think it'll take more time before he's fully back to his old self? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the updates on DeMarvion Overshown and the Cowboys.